Okay, welcome. So today I just wanted to offer some reflections about boarding schools and asking, are they starting to come to an end? And today I want to talk a little bit about a conference I went to last week and having conversations with people who are working in boarding schools and just some insights which have come from this. Yeah, thank you. So last Friday, I went to this conference which was honoring the life of Joy Schaverien, and there were some amazing speakers. It was run by TR Together, Alice Waterfall, and the team there, Sammy and many others. And there was Alex Renton, there was Graham Music, there was Helen Odell Miller, there was also Zach. I can't pronounce her surname, and myself, and I showed part of the film, the interview that we did with Joy Schaverien a couple of years ago. And while I was there, I was speaking to a person who worked in a boarding school. And they were just telling me what was happening in the boarding school system at the moment. And I just found it fascinating. And part of me, as I was researching and thinking about this, I was thinking, wow, does this mean that boarding schools are coming to an end? And so I just made some thought. So one of the things I've noticed is that, you know, what this person was saying is that boarding schools have gone into survival mode, meaning that they've kind of battened down the hatches, they've kind of really gone into what I understand. This person didn't say this, isn't fear. It's like the fight, flight, freeze. It's like, right, they've gone into survival, surviving. They're going to do everything. And I came across a magazine, which I'm staying at friends who showed me this magazine for independent schools, including boarding schools, and they're saying, there seems to be so much coming at them at the moment about how bad boarding schools are. And, it's thanks to the work of Chris Brach at Seen and Heard, who I've been spending the last few days with, working on compassionate leaders with him, and saying that there's articles once a month out there about the impact of boarding schools. And we've got this screening in the House of Commons in a couple of months. It's a month now, 6 weeks. It's like there's so much impetus out there. So they've gone into survival mode. But if you notice in nature, when something goes into survival mode, it's no longer growing. It's gone inward. And what that means often from a nature level is that's if you're not growing, you're dying. And so that's what I'm kind of getting a sense of with these boarding schools is are they? Is that the end of boarding schools as we know it? And as I was speaking to this person about the school they work in, they were saying that what they're doing now is they're saying we need to get young children in. We need to get, the 7, 8 year olds back in to the flow. So they're bringing prep schools in to the flow of their school. And and why I thought, wow, that's really strange because no one wants prep schools anymore. Everyone has seen over the last few years, certainly during COVID, so many of the prep schools closed because there's a small percent, I think something like 2% of children below the age of 11 are boarding now. So to say that that's your solution is to, you know, go back to the old model, for me, that's like, wow. From a business level, for me, having trained in international business, it's like and reading Jim Collins, who's one of the business leading thinkers from the last 30, 40 years, he says you've got to diversify, you've got to be kind of creative, innovative. Going back to something which no longer works just feels like that for me is like, wow. And it kind of, it's almost like as I hear them going into survival mode, so many of the people who are running these schools are ex-boarders. And therefore, what will happen, they've gone into survival mode, they will go back into the old boarding school patterns and they'll do the same old things. What happens is a trauma response. We will go back to what is unconsciously programmed. And so we will do the same things until we break that cycle. And I see that, you know, boarding schools from 16 onwards, you know, heart-centered, emotionally intelligent, you know, I think that would be great for children. And Nick Duffel agrees, Joy Schaverien agrees, Simon Partridge, other people who've spoken up about this, 16. But below that, I just, for me, the next few years, then they're not going to exist. That's my vision. 2035, there will be no more under 16 boarding schools. And I really believe that's going to happen now. There's such a weight of movement. There's such a weight of data now, just to show you there's so many books, there's so many biographies. I think, yeah. The other thing which this person was mentioning is they've gone into survival mode. So they're talking about they've built ensuite bathrooms. They are building new science blocks. And they're saying, look, we're doing these things. But again, we know from child development that a child, if you've got ensuite bathrooms on one side and then you've got parents on another, you're going to, ensuite bathroom and a mobile phone and a carpet and parents on the other side, who are going to be the better parents? It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. And as we know now, as I've mentioned a few times over the last few months, this idea of AI. AI will take over that more academic, the science side of things. What's really going to be needed, as Zach Cass talks about, one of the managers from OpenAI and ChatGPT, he says it's the soft skills. And where do we learn those soft skills? We learn them from our parents, we learn them from our community. They're not taught in these schools. Doesn't mean they can't teach them in these sixth form colleges. And I think that's really going to be key. So I just really, as I hear how they're dealing with the current situation, they're just going into a trauma response. And I just can't see, my sense is 10 years, but it could be in the next couple of years, they just fall apart. And I know they're going to go into that survival mode. But if they're creating a product that, as Zach Cass says, people come up to him all the time. What's the skills I need to learn? What's the thing I need to focus on? He doesn't say, "Oh, you need to do coding or you need to learn prompts. No, he says you need to learn soft skills. You need to learn compassion, empathy, wisdom. At the moment, these schools don't do that. Can they transition into heart-centered schools? I mean, yeah, I think that would be beautiful. Day schools. And I'm hearing, you know, that a lot of schools are doing that now. They're turning away from boarding and they're bringing in younger children and they're bringing in heart-centered teaching. And people say, oh, that's weak, that's soft. It's like, no. The more I speak to leaders, I'm working a lot with people who are in senior leadership positions in the City of London and in America. It's emotional intelligence. Those are the things which are, revolutionizing these areas. Less so London, but there are individuals who are doing it. And it's making huge difference because leadership, it's really about relationships. And yet these schools, by breaking attachments with their parents, is saying, and this comes from Diane Paulella, she says, avoidance, so it creates avoidant attachment, you know, avoidance, with this attachment style have a tendency to keep intimacy at arm's length and to diminish the importance of relationships. But if you want to be a great leader, it's all about relationships. So I just see that they've got a product which people are not going to be interested in having anymore. So either they change, and I think if they're willing to do that, as Jim Collins says, you've got to innovate. Nature's changed, you know. Uh, Yuval Noah Harari in his books, he says flexibility is the key skill for the 21st century. But if you don't have good attachments, as Dr. Sue Gerhardt says, you can't grow a flexible brain. So you've really got to look at this. And as I look, I'm like, I just hear this. It's like I can't see them being around in more than a couple of years, unless they transition, unless they turn into, heart-centered schools, and then into heart-centered, sixth form boarding schools. So, yeah, I feel very passionate about this, and I feel it's really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to the screening in the House of Commons. We've got MPs have already confirmed they're going to be there. There seems to be a real movement. Everyone's writing. If you've not written to your MP, please do. Please write again. And it's like, let's do this. Let's transform this because at the moment, children are not safe. This is reality. ICSA, one of the people speaking at the screening in the House of Commons will be um, the chair of the former chair of ICSA. Um, I'm trying to remember the name off the top of my head. It's gone. So it's like this is really, really exciting that we can change this, but we can't do this alone. We've got to do this as a community, going, right, okay, let's contact our MPs and you know. So thank you so much for listening. Please, if you've got any questions, let me know. I'll put a link into the description of the link to Seen and Heard's website where you've got the template letter. Please do, fill it in, send it out. And if you think, I don't really have time, take you 5 minutes and it will really help us because people are booking on. We want to fill that room and start this dialogue and not just it be, a few people there. Let's fill it. It's a 90 space room. Let's fill it with MPs, with press, and really open this question. Are children safe? And if they're not, what can we do? And we've invited Jess Phillips. So hopefully her and her team will be there. And Alexi J is the former chair. So she will be coming. So yeah, thank you so much. Really exciting. And I really appreciate all your support. So yeah, take care and see you soon. Bye for now.